The Ngozi Cadmus Show presents the bridge between faith, entrepreneurship, and leadership. My name is Ngozi Cadmus, and I'm a mental health and leadership expert. I represent the average woman and equip women of faith to walk in their divine calling, master their thoughts, and love themselves so that they can level up spiritually, mentally, and financially. What they do not tell you as a social worker, episode 3. My name is Ngozi Cadmus, and I am the host of the Ngozi Cadmus podcast show. Actually, the Ngozi Cadmus show. That is a podcast. So I'm going to get right into it because I got a lot of things to get off my chest. So for those that don't know, I'm a qualified social worker in the United Kingdom, which is in Europe, which is the part of the world that is cold at best, or should I say grey at best. We're experiencing summer right now. But because I know social work is different in different parts of the world. I know I can't practice as a social worker in America. I would have to convert or retrain. I think I can practice in Canada and Australia, but America is different. And some parts of the world don't have a social worker. So where I'm from in Nigeria, they don't really have that kind of system. So I know the parts of the world that this is unfamiliar to. But for the part that is, a social worker essentially is a operative. That's the word. It's a civil I guess we are civil servants, right? We work for government, or we work for local government or local councils or municipalities, or it could be organizations, but essentially we fill a gap where there's a need, right? So there's human beings in society that need more support than maybe the average person, and essentially social worker is there to facilitate that process, or should be there to facilitate that process, right? So social work aims are about valuing autonomy and, essentially helping readdress and distribute resources fairly, equally, equitable to those that need it, so that they can get on the same playing field as everybody else. And that's my definition about me having to research what social work is, right, as a social worker. For some people, they know social workers as those that take their children, or social workers as meddling workers, government agents, government spies, government operatives. However they are viewed, essentially, when you train to be a social worker, it's a highly specialist service, so a highly specialist training that should equip you with different skills to, so skills like counselling skills, assessment skills, to enable you to work with a varied group of people, families and children and young people, homeless people and people with drug and alcohol, people with mental health issues, working age adults between 18 and 65, and older adults is 65 plus, and then young children, which is under 18s. And varying levels of needs, children with disabilities or physical disabilities, or adults with disabilities and learning disabilities, etc., can go on and go on and go on. There are social workers that work in airports for those that come from other countries and their needs are identified quite clearly, or unaccompanied minors, I hope I said it right, or asylum seekers, social workers in police stations to deal with issues that crop up when there are welfare issues, essentially, when you've got a person that you have charged but is homeless. What do you do? So social workers kind of, to a degree, interact with every part of society and deal with what society might sometimes feel is the dregs of society, the misfits, the outcasts. Not that they are, but that's just what, sometimes society that doesn't deal with them, that's probably what you consider sometimes the people, the most vulnerable. That's the best word to say it. I think we're all vulnerable, but the most vulnerable, right? The most vulnerable people. So you might be wondering, okay, so what did they not tell you to be a social worker? Now, for me personally, I didn't come into social work idealistic, like having these ideals and believing that my values and the values of social work will be easily translated I understood that the reality of it, there ain't much money. Is there ever much money? But the money is scant, and you're literally fighting for resources. So I don't know. I just had this realistic perspective. But I know a lot of people that I trained with were very disappointed when we went into what we call our placement. So we went to kind of practice social work, supervised. People were very disappointed. It's like reality confronted them and they had to realize their ideals. Now, I'm a podcast that talks about business and faith. So I am talking a lot about money in a lot of my episodes, because money is good and money is needed for the world to go round, and money is needed to advance God's kingdom. It is just what it is, yeah? So the reality is about social. I don't know about America, don't know about Canada, and I don't know about Australia and all of that, but the reality in this UK, in this United Kingdom, in this England, Wales and Scotland and Ireland, potentially, money ain't that good, mate. The money, and I guess it depends on your perspective. For some people, maybe it is really good. You know, I left social work on a 42k salary, which I guess is pretty good. I guess it would put me in middle class ship at the lower end, and at my age as well. So I was in my 20s, early mid 20s at that rate, right? So that's probably quite good, right? I started at 35k, went up to 42k. And that depends on different boroughs. I think that's one of the highest, to be fair. There was, I think, one other borough that paid a little bit more for the role that I was doing, right? And I wasn't in management, didn't want to be in management. So for the role that I was doing, senior social worker, probably decent money in London. And there's obviously less once you go to outside of the city. So if 42k a year is something you're happy to live with year after year, as inflation goes up and as bills rise, then fine. This ain't for you. You're cool with it. It's all good. You can listen on and just listen and critique and give me your perspective. But for the high majority of you, it's good because it's better than a lot, but it's not good enough. It's like, wait a minute. How do I live a comfortable life? How do I live a comfortable life on the wage? So what they don't tell you is that unless you get into management, your pay ain't going to meet maybe even your basic needs with the cost of living. So the cost of living is to the point that people, even two-parent households, yeah, that are making maybe 30, 40k each, are just about surviving, let alone you making 42k. And you could be a single mother with a kid, 2 kids, 3 kids. And you're meant to survive on that. You're meant to go on holidays on that. You're meant to just live a life. We're not talking about living luxury, just living comfortable. You can't even live comfortable on that salary. I'm not going to break down the cost of different things because y'all know that. And you see your salary every month and you see what's left after they take the tax and they take the student loan. I think that's the lie they don't tell you, because you go in there, and I get it. So many of us go in there because we're passionate. Look, I went into social work not for the money. I went into it because I wanted to help people, and I just thought social work seemed like the most financially beneficial role. That youth worker was good, but then it was a cap. There was other support workers. All these other roles to work with people will be capped at an income unless I got more qualifications. So it was like, well, social worker seems like one of the highest paid jobs within that field of that the helping professions within that social kind of field. So let me be a social worker. It's never been like I want to be a social worker. It was I want to help people, and social work was a role to help, was a way in which I could help people. And of course at the time, you know, I was happy. I'm single, I'm living at my mum's house, but then, mate, I started my master's, and boy, that was expensive. There was a point where I was going on 4 holidays a year, and then I couldn't do that anymore. Just couldn't do that. That was partly because they increased the price of my master's. Now, I say this to say, you know, I made quite a lot of money in the last couple of years. Nearing $1 million. Helping people break generational trauma. Releasing them from the shackles that keep them, you know, helping thousands, literally thousands of individuals become whole, healed. Using my skills as a social worker and a therapist, right? I created a business. I monetized my skills, monetized my gift, my expertise. Because being a social worker alone, working whether it's for government or for a charity or even for private, because I've done locum. The only thing I ain't worked is private and charity, but I've done locum and I've done permanent. And let me tell you this, the money left is pitiful. It is pitiful. And this can go for nursing. This is really going for a lot of the health and social care professions within that realm. Even for doctors. Doctors get a lot of money, but the level of stress that they are under, I don't know. I think the level of stress that management is under, let alone those doing the work as well, isn't worth the money, because we know we don't work 9 to 5. We work basically as many hours we need to get the job done, and it's usually more than the hours that we are being paid for. Point blank period, really, because there is more work than numbers. There's more work piling up than you have your colleagues, because they don't want to pay for more staff to reduce the load. Our caseload are exponential. There are people that have caseloads in mental health. You really shouldn't have any more than 20, even that could be a lot, right? 30 plus individuals that you are working with. How are you meant to see all of them in a month, do your KPIs, do your admin, do all of that, deal with the emergencies that come up, because every single week something comes up with a client, because you've got 30 clients, that's 30 families essentially. And then you're working with all of the professionals around that client. So imagine 30 clients, so that's 30 families really, and double or triple the professionals, because there'll be, GP, and then there might be a dentist, and then there might be a nurse, and there might be a carer, and you are essentially coordinating. I'm talking about the mental health side, and I know it's somewhat similar in children's, where you are coordinating, the school and the safeguarding lead and, this person and that person. You end up basically being glorified project managers. When you really think about it, social workers are health and social care project managers. We are project managing the lives of vulnerable people and everybody connected to them. And we get a 42k salary. Are you taking the mickey? And when things go wrong, what happens? We may get the blame of taking a mick. Or taking the mick. And we look forward to the 2-3 week annual leave we have every 6 to 8 weeks, or if that. Because some people's annual leave was shocking. My annual leave was good, but some of your annual leave, boy, I don't know where you're going. I don't know how you survive on only 4 weeks of annual leave. I had 5 or 6 weeks. So, but when you think about it, in a whole 52 weeks, you literally have 6 weeks off. That's a bit crazy. So what's 6 divided by 52? So essentially, if you were to take a holiday, I'm going to do some calculations here. You're going to realize quite quickly, I'm not good at maths, but I did pass my GCSEs though, don't get it twisted. But I just, what do you call it? I just quickly studied that GCSEs, but I don't remember nothing that I was taught. Cram, that's the word. So technically, if you did it this way, I did it wrong. 52 divided by 6. So in 52 weeks, if I did my leave in such a way, I could take a week off every 2 months. So that's 8 weeks, so every 2 months. And then that would be 6 weeks. But that's not how holidays work, isn't it? You do a week, 10 days, all of this different stuff. But I could have taken annual leave. I guess the reason why I was good with my annual leave is because I only took it when I went on holiday. So I could do a 2-week holiday here or there. So what they don't tell you as a social worker is that you are going to do a job that is not valued, sometimes by the people you're working for and the clients you are supporting. Now, you don't do a job all the time to be told you're doing amazing and well done, but sometimes it is nice to feel that the effort, particularly because you're putting in effort outside of working hours, because you've got to get it done. If you don't get it done, you're really the buck stops at you essentially. If you don't get the report done, And there's time scales, so there's deadlines. It isn't like you've got just time. You've got to get reports done at certain times, right? So with that pressure and the ongoing pressure that society and the media places because of certain failings or serious things that's happened, and I'm doing that because there's a misunderstanding of the role of social work. So, but these incidents have happened and it's been appalling and devastating for the families and for everybody. It puts a lot of pressure on social workers. So sometimes you're working from a blame culture, you're working from a sense of surveillance, and you're working from a sense of, I can't put a foot wrong because that could be the end of my career. So the reason I'm saying all of this, because that's not what you're told when you're in training. Of course they won't, because that will probably scare everyone. They don't tell you that. They say you're going to help people and, you've got to have all of these amazing values, but then you get there and you spend most of your time pushing paper, literally. And if you're not good at admin, that could actually be a reason for putting you on a discipline, because admin demonstrates that you're working. Admin gets the local government paid, simple point blank period. So they want to see the evidence of the supposed good work that you're doing, because you're doing good work, but it's supposed, it's alleged until you evidence it. And they want you to evidence it contemporaneously, as in basically as soon as you see the client. Which, how is that possible when I've got to see 4 clients a day and I've got meetings and I've got all these different things? So what they don't tell you is that being a social worker is not a job for life anymore. It's not a job that you can live on comfortably. If you want to live comfortably, if you want to have a comfortable lifestyle, it's not a job that you can even go on holiday without it being in your head, because you're going to come back to email. Sometimes annual leave was a blessing and a curse, because it's nice to be away, but you'll come back to so many emails. And depending on the load, the team, sometimes you come back to stuff that ain't been done, because unfortunately, no one's going to do it. They've got their own caseload to deal with. So what they don't tell you is that social work now be scam. No. I really, honestly, my bias, when people ask me to do social work, I say why. My first question is why, because I want to know your why. There are the minority that love it and will continue doing it and press forward and want to change the system from within, and I applaud you. But I think that what I advise people to do, which is what I did, is use it for what it is a stepping stone. You do it. Do a good 5 to 10 years, maybe shorter, maybe longer, depends. But essentially have an exit plan the day you start your job. Make sure you are under continuous professional development every year. I did not stop being developed or being on courses every single year. One, because the monotony of things just can really get you down, doing the same thing over and over again. Even though it's different every day, it just becomes, to me, monotonous. So having that level of stimulation, just feeling like you're growing, your personal development is growing. So that's what I would advise, and utilize that, because these skills that you gain as a social worker and the CPD that you train in can help you make that into a viable business and make stupendous money more than your annual salary. So this is one of many, because I'm going to talk a lot about social work and therapy, because I don't want to put people off doing it. I just want to be honest and give people the true picture, because some people are coming in with this fairy tale thing. And you know what? It's not even that. You just don't know. People are not telling you the truth. That's what it is. Your lecturers are not going to tell you the reality, because 1, they've been out of it for a while, and 2, you'll drop off the course. So they can't tell you all that. And then by the time you do your placement, you're already you're half gone. You've got the student loan. You're like, I'm continuing this. And also, if you're not working, because sometimes you have to stop work because social work is full time, you're like, I need to continue this. I need to make money. So you're already too late, basically. So essentially, this is what they don't tell you. Working as a social worker can lead you to being vulnerable, and can lead you to be in a situation where you end up resenting the job, even resenting the people you're working for, because you do so much for, I think, very little in return. You may not go in for that, but if you don't get that at all consistently, it will be energy sucking, and you end up becoming burnt out, you end up becoming frustrated, you end up, overworking yourself, stressed. Social workers got one of the highest amount of people suffering from mental health difficulties. Can you imagine? A job that's meant to help people and alleviate people's pain is causing the most pain to its workers, which I think is a shame. The government's got to do better. The College of Social Work's got to do better. Managers got to do better, honestly. But that's why I'm left. So, thank you for listening. I would love to hear your opinions. Any social workers, any soon-to-be social workers or aspiring social workers, or social workers who have left their PTSD at work, kind of like recovering from that, honestly. The vicarious trauma that we experience and stuff like that, the lack of support, be feeling valued, etc. And again, this is transferable to nurses and support workers and youth workers, and write down, what do you feel like? Do you feel like, not that you were scammed, but sold a lie to a degree, and kind of frustrated with the lack of progression or the lack of money, just the lack, really just the lack, Let me know your thoughts and comments in the comment section. For those that are listening, I don't know if you can comment, but download, tell me, DM me, follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and let me know your thoughts. And thank you for listening. Ooh, what an amazing show, if I may say so myself. Well, thank you for listening to the Ngozi Cadmus Show podcast. So, for all of you women of faith and all of you women who are listening week after week and resonate with what I'm talking about, feel lost, feel uncertain, know they're called for something greater, but they're currently stuck in what is comfortable. They're stuck in the familiar. And you honestly want to get out of that. You want to be all that God has created you to be. Sis, I got you covered. Yeah? I've got an amazing mentorship that I provide to women of faith like yourself to help them level up, essentially equip them with the skills that they need to fulfill their assignment on earth, and to shift their mindset, have a complete metanoia, have a complete transformation. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, click the link on the website and follow the instructions, and I can't wait to see you in the community. So like, share, subscribe. That's YouTube. But for the podcast lovers, download it, share it, tweet it, review it, all of that good stuff, and I shall see you in the next podcast.